Master Baldr. School District Office of the Principal. There was a sound, the door opened, and Leon and Arisa ran in. Have you heard from Aurelio? Yes, it is said that a large-scale collapse has occurred in the dungeon. How is the situation? Baldr and Leon were at the university. The information was quickly confirmed at both ends of the table. The huge, abnormal situation on the ground scale caused Aurelio to rush to deal with it, and at the same time, that school district also prepared to take action. Most of the students escaped, they were not trapped, and no one appears to have died. However, the 3rd squad and 7th squad are probably still inside. The god's face was still closed. There was no emotion in his voice, just the facts. Lefiya. Behind Leon, who was frowning, Arisa's face was pale. She was worried about the safety of her colleagues and old acquaintances, and heard an irregular pounding sound in her chest. I'm going there too. I can't leave it to Aurelio. Yes, please. They are fine. It's up to you to decide what happens at the scene. Master Baldr. Me too. Arisa, please stay here. After Leon and the others leave, there will be a lack of command personnel here. Open the alchemy discipline warehouse. Yes. She managed to force her voice and responded like this. Leon nodded slightly and left the room like a race against time. Lefiya and the others. Are they safe? There is no doubt that they are still alive. My blessing has not diminished. I don't know if the members are healthy. But luckily it is her and her team. It should be possible to avoid the worst. Arisa couldn't help but ask. At this moment, the corners of Baldr's mouth curled up slightly. When Arisa was puzzled by the implied meaning, he immediately withdrew his smile. If there is any unnecessary worry, it is Lefiya's inner side. In the extreme state, which way will her heart fall? In the dungeon. It's ridiculous. Looking at the scene in front of him, Luke thought so. In an instant, flames exploded. The flames of war soared into the sky, destroying everything. The bugle of war rushed forward, devouring the brutal battlefield dash. Extra-long chant was woven. Just the scale of the spell and the sheer amount of magical power were enough to scare Luke's body into trembling, but she herself continued to cast it calmly. And what else made him doubt the common sense? It was such a level of mass annihilation magic was not used for attack. Burn everything, Sword of Sutter. My name is Alf. Now Luke cannot see a single monster around him. The last chant fell silently, and immediately after, the emerald magic circle summoned at Lefiya's feet spread out in one breath. He passes under the rock plate that blocks numerous roads and searches for monsters and people within the radius of effect of about 80 m. After confirming that there were no adventurers or students nearby, Lefiya simply released wide area annihilation magic. Immediately afterwards, his left hand holding the scepter reached forward. Release that light, the sacred wooden longbow. Its name is Marksman. The loud voice resounded everywhere. It was from his own spell. The raised staff pointed at the pile of rocks blocking the road, which looked like a giant corpse. In addition to the magic being chanted, she also prepared a small wrist-shaped magic circle in advance in her right hand. Aim, elf archer. Penetrate, the well-aimed arrow, arrow of light. The extra-large flash of light was released, swallowing the pile of rocks. There was a violent impact and the sound of an explosion. The collapse that not only penetrated but destroyed the entire rock plate was about to cause a second disaster in the unbalanced rock cave. But Lefiya immediately announced, pursuing release. The magic sung before the wide area annihilation magic was immediately activated. Extremely cold Fenbul winter. 3 violent blizzards were fired. This time, Lefiya stretched out her right hand and unfolded the emerald magic circle again, and the bombardment of ice waves she released froze the labyrinth itself that was about to collapse. Precise control and great power. She froze the vicious bedrock and then created a hole inside while supporting it. Luke, who placed his hands in front of her to block the intense cold, raised his head and saw that an ice tunnel had been built here. Inside the cave that was about to collapse, a solid ice cave was built. After using all the magic once, the mental power consumed should not be underestimated. She said this, but there was no consumption on her face. The continuous activation of 3 types of magic. The first spell is Detector. Will be able to identify all humans and monsters in the magic circle. Wide area annihilation magic, spreads in a large area, confirming that there are no classmates or students nearby and no need to worry about who will be affected, and a cannon, arrow of light to remove stones. So use Absolute Zero, Fenbull Winter. And it froze the cave that was about to collapse after losing its support. At the same time, make a hole inside. Remove the stones that block the path, avoid collapse and build a road that can move forward. It's easy to say. However, how many adventurers can do this kind of thing? It's not hard to imagine that excavating the underground city will take a lot of time and work. It takes corresponding manpower and special equipment to dig a tunnel carefully enough, but Lefiya did it alone. The uninterrupted magic is released and the exaggerated magical power is very different from ordinary people. This is level 4. No, this is the 1,000 elves of the Loki family. Luke had already heard Lefiya's name many times in the place where the school district arrived during the trip, and now he really realized that this name is worthy of the name. Accompanied by the fear that shook her body, he understood one thing, that is, she is also a heroine candidate. It's very messy. Luke witnessed the ice cave scene 4 times, this time he whispered softly, and then Lefiya turned her head. I admit this is really inefficient, but it would be unfortunate if some adventurers were affected after casting the spell. The collapse of the area where Luke and the others had retreated to affected a large area and all the forks were blocked. It could be said to be hermetically sealed. In fact, if there is only Luke, he should not be able to break through the situation and can only wait for rescue. In that situation, Lefiya only said one word, let's go ahead. After that, she continued to use the 3 types of magic to advance little by little. If a wizard saw this scene, he might faint on the spot. Luke muttered, how much spiritual power do you have, or ordinary people wouldn't do this if they thought about it, feeling the feeling that common sense has been destroyed. You can dig the rock plate by yourself, isn't it better to open a way to escape? First open the road to the 14th floor. The surface should have heard of the commotion, the Ganesha family, and so on should have already started taking action. Therefore, I will leave it to them. Compared to me alone, they are much more efficient with a large number of people. Lefiya entered the ice cave and calmly responded with the outspoken Luke. If both sides dug regular roads at the same time, the time could indeed be shortened, but they would have to race against time to find Nano and the others. And Lefiya and the others walked in front, much closer to Nano and the others than the rescue team. In fact, Luke agreed with Lefiya's idea of keeping her priorities unshakable. That said, it's really bad luck. I can't find the vertical hole that leads to the bottom floor. Although Lefiya can use unconventional methods to advance in the collapsed dungeon, she still has so-called spiritual power limits. Not to mention that, as she herself said, it was very inefficient. Lefiya didn't rigidly follow the regular path, she was looking for a shortcut to the bottom floor, the vertical cave. This way, there is no need to wander through the maze, and it is possible to reach the 18th floor in one go. Luke thought desperately, just use the exaggerated bombardment throwing towards the feet, open a vertical hole and forget about it. But even among the dungeon's countless unwritten rules, this counts as an atrocity. If there are adventurers directly below, they will definitely die, and even if they don't die, there is a high probability that they will be affected by landslides. Although horizontal can be detected, vertical cannot be detected. However, it is already the 16th floor. If you find the vertical point again, you can reach the 17th floor. I'm very worried about them. As Luke said, it's level 16 now. The two managed to get here from the collapsed 15th floor. Lefiya took out her pocket watch and Luke looked at it and discovered that it had been almost half a day since the 7th squad entered the dungeon. They are about to update the maximum dungeon stay time. Normally, I should feel physically and mentally exhausted, but not tired at all.